Now what I want to do is talk a little bit about a double leg attack not hitting your knees, okay? And then what we're going to do in terms of finish. And we've already gone over a little bit of that, but I want to make this more explicit. On one hand, reality is, particularly in the grappling arts, wrestling and jiu-jitsu, submission wrestling, because of your opponent's position and because of the rules, there's a tendency for our stance to be fairly low. Now, that therefore necessitates me getting even lower to be able to attack in, and that typically necessitates me hitting my knees. Now, in fighting, of course, our stance is going to be very much different. Both people are going to be typically more upright, and also distances are going to be changed. Okay, you'll have greater distance because you can strike. Okay, now, first what I'm going to talk a little bit about is more of a grappling type attack of a double leg on your feet. Now we're going to go into more of an attack for mixed martial arts. But I just want you to understand that the double leg takedown can be done at somewhat different levels depending upon the type of opponent and the type of rules that you're competing under. Now, when I practice a double leg takedown on my feet, just first get your opponent to kind of stay in kind of a bit of a scarecrow position here. And now instead of lowering my level all the way down here and popping in, what I want you to practice or think about doing is lowering your level here. And when I spring out, I'm going to pop them with my shoulder like this. From here, I'm going to lower my level. You'll notice a couple things there. One, my overall level is not as low. This is a lower level attack than this is. Okay. You'll also notice too that the angle of my back is somewhat different. The angle of my back is a little bit more parallel. I don't want it parallel to the mat, but relative to dropping my level here as opposed to attacking here, there's a difference. I'd argue that that difference isn't real significant once you get the technique of being able to get in quick and you're able to power through with your shoulder. There's a point, of course, of diminishing returns if my butt is up high because I haven't lowered my level at all and I'm coming in, I'm going to get snapped down and clobbered. But this is not a weak position. From here, so I think it's useful to simply practice on a partner that isn't staying quite as low, just to get this notion down here, just that much, and that's how you practice. You step here, then you add your setup from here. Boom. You'll notice another thing. When my head hits, it's no longer here. It's up a little higher. Okay, when I attack, I don't want my head, because look there's a point where here I've got mechanically a little bit better brace in this position. But this isn't quite as good. This is okay as long as my hips are low, but if I start lifting my hips up, then I become in an increasingly unfavorable position and I'm going to get squished here. So generally, try to keep your head up a little higher on that type of an attack. So to practice again, you're popping. Same deal on the drag. And you get the notion of being able to come in and feel comfortable attacking that way. I think to be able to develop an attack where you have a, quote, drop step, where you don't go to your knees, is very crucial in the martial arts. I think that because of the position being up higher when you're fighting and not quite so low in traditional wrestling or submission wrestling or jiu-jitsu, you'll be able to get into your opponent easier without hitting your knees. And so I would recommend that you practice that type of a movement. Just in, boom. It's just, you're just stepping in. I've lowered my level slightly, boom, boom. And I'm in. I keep everything compact. Again, we always want to start with the hands. My weight is coming forward, boom. Again, everything's forward. I'm always leaning. When I start, my position is moving slightly forward. And I know just because I'm comfortable moving around, boom, when that point is where I'm going to break my balance and I'm going to attack. And I can manipulate and control that. And I don't overcommit myself so that I'm going to get my head snapped. The root finish, again, when you're on your feet, is to chop and drive. Now we discussed this a little bit before. It's important when I do this, I take little steps. This is jammed down. I'm not pulling this leg in. I'm jamming it down here, down, and I take little steps, and I'm just driving. I'll typically go down, of course, with them, but I'm driving. You'll notice my hips are low. Driving. So I step in, grab here, change the attack into the angle, and I'm driving. I'm pushing with my head, launching off my feet here, putting a lot of weight on that leg that I'm chopping. That should be your root finish. When I'm in here, from this position, I've attacked, I just drive. You notice it's small steps, keeping the weight heavy on that leg, and moving through. He's not going to be very mobile if I keep a lot of weight, and I keep this arm really rigid and tight. Pushing with my head, driving with my feet. A second position to be practicing and to become skillful at in the double leg is, that's on your feet, is from here, notice where my hands are here. What I want to do now is I'm going to come up higher. You'll notice my hips came up higher when I did that. The rear arm is through the crotch. The front arm around his belly is at his waist. My head is high, not low at his hip. It's up here, and I'm going to typically, if I can, I'm going to try to pinch his leg here. And again, try to keep my feet wide apart. I have a better base, not like this, but like this. My base is better like this than like this. Now, one position that I think is important to be aware of when you're attacking a double leg is being able to avoid a guillotine. And a lot of wrestlers get a little bit nervous about a double leg because they get concerned about a guillotine. But in fact, if you have proper position on your double leg, your opponent is not in a very favorable position to get you in a guillotine. For Colby here to have a favorable position to be successful in attacking a guillotine on me, if I have a double leg, he wants three basic things, besides, of course, having a favorable grip here. He wants, one, to have his weight on this foot. He wants to be being able to push into me as best he can. He's going to get better leverage in this position. Two, he wants my head low, okay, towards his hip. Three, he wants me to be out in front of him, okay, or him to be out in front of me, so that we're facing each other square. This is a fairly advantageous position for him, and makes me vulnerable, especially if I'm staying here, for a guillotine. However, I can make it a little bit more difficult by making sure his weight is on this foot, because even if he has a guillotine here, and I get to the side, I'm going to be in fairly favorable position to be able to defend against that by getting north-south. But you'll notice what I was trying to do there was to get the weight over to this foot right away. Now, of course, it's a danger to be hanging out here because you will be vulnerable to a guillotine type of an attack or choke. But as quickly as I can get my weight to that far foot, that's going to make it very difficult for my opponent to get me in a guillotine. So, if after I shot my attack, or my double leg takedown, and we're not talking regular wrestling here, but submission wrestling, or mixed martial arts, if I'm camping out here in an unfavorable position where his weight is on top of me, he may have a position here to where he can get me in a guillotine and choke me out. So one of the things that's crucial, and that's why I say the root, is for you to be able to get to here. Now get me in a guillotine. If you can keep the weight here, it's very difficult for your opponent at that point to get it. Even if he has it, though, that's the direction to go in, or at least that's one option. Now, same position up here. If I was low in front of Kobe, his weight is on the front foot, and when he's out in front of me, he's going to kill me in here. But if I get to this position, notice where I am now. 1, his weight's on the far foot. 2, he's no longer facing me. I've got an angle on him here, okay? 3, my head is high up in his armpit here. It's very difficult for him to get a guillotine in this position. And we have some finishes that we can do from that just by lifting. We'll do that a little later. But the point being, if you can remember the first principle of chopping and getting the weight on that far leg, that makes it more difficult for him to get a guillotine. The other thing being to get an angle. And the final thing, to get your head up as high as possible, as quick as possible, particularly if you get caught down below. So if I come up to my feet here, you can be sure I'm going to be jacking my head up high here. I'm around the crotch, because I'm not going to let him square off to me, get his weight down here, and kill me here. So I'm going to be in this position here. Go ahead. So you can avoid the guillotine. That's my main point there, by remembering those 3 principles, or those 3 principles of movement when you do have a double leg. Our first finish from the high double leg, where we just attack without coming to our knees, is the chop. That's the root. The second is to get in this position. Now, if he can't get me in a guillotine, some wrestlers try to hook my leg down here. Okay, hook here, yeah. And all of a sudden, I get kind of frozen up. Now, what do I not want to do? I don't want to lower my head here, right? Because he'll take that out. I'm in trouble. I keep my head up high. I keep my chest in here. Now, he hooks. All I'm going to do is I'm going to lift up here, grab it. Now, watch this. I've lifted up. I'm not going to like wing him here. I'm just going to come down with my weight here. And you'll notice he's got no post out here. I lift up, grab it, down. I lower my weight, because at that point I'm putting a lot of weight on that leg that I'm holding up here. He's got no post there. His center of gravity is out from the leg that's supporting him here. He's going to go down. So I'm here. Okay, I may be trying to tap here to drive him through. He locks me up here. I come up, grab, down to this position here and get on top, get his back. Here, he hooks, come up, grab, down. Get his back.